The scientists kept the digging going for months, deep beneath the Antarctic ice, determined to locate the source of a signal that had shaken the world. It wasn't an alien transmission or the singing sounds of whales that had been captured. It was simpler yet far more significant and incomprehensible. A simple radio signal, one that appeared to come from a different time. The message was clear. We are fine. We are fine. Repeat, we are fine. This is flight number 583 from the 7th Aero Squadron of the United States Air Force. We are returning from a targeting mission over Frankfurt, Germany. Mission aborted due to inclement weather. Over. Anyone out there? Over. The signal repeated for hours, long enough for scientists to locate the source beneath the ice cap at the South Pole. Then, as suddenly as it had started, it stopped. The world was left in suspense. How could a plane that had disappeared during World War II, years ago, be sending signals now? A massive search operation began, with international resources coming together to rescue the crew of the missing flight. The ice was unforgiving, but the teams pressed on. They used every piece of technology at their disposal, including satellite imagery and sonar mapping. After days of excavation, they discovered an old frozen aircraft, Flight 583, entombed in the ice, but there was no sign of the crew. As the search intensified, a chilling mystery unfolded. How had this plane survived the decades? Why was it only now being discovered? The official story was that Flight 583 had disappeared during its mission to Germany, and its crew had long been presumed lost. But now, this signal had torn apart the established narrative. A new reality was forming, one that defied reason. Then, later that week, as the rescuers gathered for dinner at their camp, a knock at the door startled everyone. But their surprise was only the beginning. When they opened it, standing before them were the crew members of Flight 583. Their appearances were ghostly, hollow eyes, pale faces, their uniforms weathered and torn, reminiscent of a horror film. One of them, the first to speak, broke the silence with an eerie calmness. "Hey, we are Americans," he said, his voice rough but steady. The rescuers, frozen in disbelief, could barely respond. How was this possible? The crew, thought to be lost forever, stood before them as if nothing had changed. "How?" A scientist finally stammered, his voice trembling. "What year is it? Where have you been? How are you even here?" The man's expression remained unchanged as he answered, "It's 1943. We've been trying to get back for months. What's going on here?" The room grew colder. The rescuers, confused and fearful, exchanged worried glances. Something was terribly wrong. Another crew member stepped forward, her eyes wide with confusion. "We were supposed to be back by now. But this place, what is this place?" The atmosphere in the room shifted as it became increasingly clear that these weren't the same men and women who had disappeared so long ago. Their movements were stiff, their voices flat, as though they were trapped in a strange, eternal loop. "You've been missing for over 80 years, a soldier whispered. "You shouldn't be here. You should be dead." The man at the door repeated the phrase that had haunted the world for days. "We are fine. We are fine. Repeat, we are fine." The words felt hollow now, as if they were not coming from the people, but from something else, something darker. The crew had the same faces, but they were distant, otherworldly, like echoes of a forgotten time. "Where's your plane?" another soldier asked, his voice low and fearful. The man turned toward the frozen expanse outside. "It's still out there," he said, his voice almost mechanical. "The plane, it's waiting." But when the rescuers tried to lead the crew back to the site of the plane, they found nothing. No wreckage. The ice had swallowed it whole, as if it had never existed. And when the crew moved through the camp, they left no footprints behind. They passed through the halls, their bodies unmoving, as though the fabric of reality itself bent around them. The rescuers soon realized the truth. The crew was not just lost in time, they were part of something far greater and more sinister. The signal wasn't just a cry for help, it was a warning, a tether to something beyond human understanding. The crew was no longer of this world. The plane had never truly crashed. It had become a part of the ice, a relic that shouldn't exist, forever locked in a limbo between worlds. As the crew disappeared into the cold, leaving no trace, the rescuers understood. They were not just facing the remnants of history. They were confronting a force that defied time and logic, a chilling presence that would haunt them forever. the world would never be the same again.